Anybody that I miss, and I sorely apologize. Rhonda Anasir, thank you so much. Rhonda serves on Naperville Park District. Rhonda reached out to me and said, can she bring Carter with her? And I was so excited when she said that, because that's what we want. We want Carter, can you say hi to everyone for us? Connor, thank you. Connor, can you get up and wave to everyone? So Connor, thank you for being here tonight.
And also we have the Terrell.
Terrell, did I not mention your name? My apologies. Terrell Barnes, Bloomingdale Public. Roselle. Okay, it's Roselle now, everybody. Anybody else that I missed? All right, we are moving along, I guess. Now, I would like to invite our first presenter, Azam Nizamuddin. He's going to talk to us, and he is a managing partner of a law firm in Hinsdale, where he focuses on family law and personal injury. Azam is a formal adjunct professor at Loyola University and Elmhurst University, where he taught course on Islamic history and theology. Additionally, he lectured widely on constitutional law, the First Amendment, the freedom of religion. He's a former chairman of Bloomingdale Township Democratic Organization and is a member of the NAACP DuPage branch. He was recently appointed to the Illinois Supreme Court to the Commission on Professionalism. In 2020, he ran for Circuit Court Judge in DuPage County, where he received 229,700 votes, the most votes by a South Asian or Muslim candidate in the history of Illinois. Big round of applause for that. Brother Azam Nizamuddin.
Thank you, but I think my time is up after that introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you for Saba and the DPDC and Mohammed for convening this wonderful gathering. It's so good to see so many Democrats in the room again, and some Republicans too, by the way. This is a real special time for the Muslim community. It's really a time of not like, partying and celebration, but it's a time of self-reflection. That's why we're subdued, besides the fact that a lot of us are hungry and thirsty. And I'll use Saba's excuse as well that I can't speak too loud because I haven't drank any water since 5 a.m. this morning. So I'm just going to do a really short presentation on how we should look at religion generally. Conceptually, and why this is important. And my friend, Dr. Sabil, will then finish up and talk more about Ramadan. So I just want us to kind of look at, I guess as a former academic, it's hard for me to escape that rubric. So I'm going to start by asking some of these fundamental questions that we look when it comes to these topics. Some key principles for us to think about, okay, when it comes to any religion, whether it's Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, whatever, and so forth. First, that religions are diverse. That's very important. They're not uniform. There's no one opinion that matters. And this is particularly true in the Islamic tradition, whether it's theology, law, or spirituality. Religions evolve and change over time as opposed to being ahistorical and static. So the views that occurred, say, in 8th century Arabia are not necessarily the exact same that you see today or in South Asia, Turkey, United States, etc. Some fundamental principles are the same, but not necessarily all interpretations and things like that. And then religious influences are embedded in all dimensions of culture, as opposed to assumptions that religions function in isolated private. In other words, religions are influenced by political factors, by economic factors and social factors over the stretch of time. And that's why we have things such as reformations, revolutions, different interpretations of scholars, etc., across the world spectrum. So what we want to do today is really get a sense of religious literacy. Religious literacy. This is important for civic society today. Why? This is particularly important for elected officials, whether you're at the state level, federal level, or the local level, because you're serving people of the community that belong to different disparate religious traditions, many of whom that take religion exceedingly seriously. By taking religion seriously, it doesn't mean that they're radical right-wing, but it simply means that religion is important to them. It's important to their families. It's important to their worldview. So as elected officials, perhaps even judges, when you interpret a particular fact pattern in the case, some of these issues do come to light. And it's important for us, particularly those who are active in civic engagement and elected officials, to understand the community that you serve. Okay? So this is why religious literacy is so important. That means you're having a basic understanding of basic texts and beliefs and practices that, again, rose in the context of social political development. And also having the ability to discern and explore the religious diversity of that community. For example, I'm from the Sunni tradition. Sunni Islam is about 85% of the world. Sabah is from the Shia community, and we both get along, and we have no issues. But the point is that there's religious diversity in our community. Even within the DPDC, there's religious diversity within the Muslim community. And finally, civic engagement and voters, as I mentioned to you, how important that is for you as people in the political spectrum. And this is just a quick slide to kind of gives you the diversity and flavor of the Muslim community, whether it's abroad or here. For example, anyone know who the picture in the middle is? Really? Oh, nobody knows? How about the guy on the right?
Keith Allison
Yeah, Keith Allison, right? Everyone knows Keith Allison. Everyone knows Malcolm X, right? Malala, right? Muhammad Ali, probably the most well-known. How about the two in the middle?
Hamza Yusuf.
There you go. Yeah. Hamza Yusuf is an American Muslim scholar, very, very popular and well-known in the Muslim community. So if you want to impress your Muslim voters, next time you go campaigning, say, I think Hamza Yusuf is really interesting. And they'll be like, whoa! They're going to blow it away. Who is above Hamza Yusuf is Lena Khan, who is the chair of the FTC, the highest ranking Muslim person in the Biden administration. Very important. Pakistani origin. Okay. So I want to jump to, religion can be viewed through many different lenses and perspectives, right? There's theology, there's philosophy, etc. But it also can be viewed through art and architecture. So this is a typical Quranic script of the pages of Qurans. So Muslims read from right to left, and this is how we read. And reading Quran is very important during the month of Ramadan. But here's a way that Muslim artists and artisans can view the Quran too, in this kind of embellished, colorful calligraphy with letters on top of one another, which requires a little bit of skill for even the normal Muslim to be able to read. Another one here. And of course you have architecture.
That's Jerusalem.
Okay? This is of course what? Nope. Nope. The Dome of the Rock, right. The Masjid al-Aqsa is a different building actually, but that's okay. It's all right, it's okay. Not all Muslims know everything, that's okay. This is the Dome of the Rock. It's called the Rock because of this little big rock here, and this is where the Prophet Muhammad ascends to heaven towards the end of his mission. But what's important about this is the architecture, the calligraphy outside, the beautiful dome of gold, and then blue zinc tiles. But it's hard to see, but around the top here, you'll see Quranic verses, which are the oldest on any artifact in the world. Okay, they date from the 690s. Okay, that's why this is such an important figure in Islam. And of course, you're all familiar with this, right?
I know. That Taj Mahal of India.
There we go, right, the Taj Mahal. Okay. Yes, woo! So why am I talking about the Taj Mahal? Well, it's important because it's one of the wonders of the world. It was built by the Mughals, which is a Muslim dynasty of India. But as you get closer, by the way, has anyone been to the Taj Mahal? Okay, so you guys, do you know? Oh, okay, good.
Sure.
Yeah, so as you get closer, what do you see? You see writings right here. Across here. And across all four sides, facades and inside, these are Quranic verses on the Taj Mahal. And these are actually dug into the stone and filled with black onyx as opposed to paint. Why? Because they were so clever, they knew that black onyx would last for centuries, whereas paint just kind of disappears. So this is a form of how people look at their religion through works of art. This is, of course, a very famous, probably the most famous Islamic theologian thinker is Jalaluddin Rumi. FYI, probably the most popular poet in English in the United States in the 2000s. If you went to Barnes and Nobles or Borders, you'd come across all his books and so forth. So Rumi, of Turkish origin, died in present-day Turkey. I won't go through that, but let me just kind of conclude with how do we understand any religion, and in particular Islam as well? We ask these three fundamental questions. Who are we as human beings? Where did we come from? And where are we going? And the Islamic worldview answers that by saying, well, we come from God, who is the ultimate reality. It's a personal God, and so forth. And then we're headed towards where? We're headed towards a place called salvation. If we're good, that's where we go. If we're believers, that's where we go. And we try to be good. So in Islam, there's a sense of both accountability, but also God's grace. So it's not this. It's kind of like a mix of both Protestantism and Catholicism, where grace and mercy are embedded, but at the same time, you're accountable for your deeds. Okay, and how do we know this? How do we know about God and the hereafter and so forth? Well, we know through two main sources, which is Scripture, which is the Quran and other texts, where you'll see some writings here that Greenpeace has that talks about the different texts in the Islamic tradition, or scriptures, and of course through prophecy. And in the Muslim tradition, we follow prophets, including many in the Old Testament, but ultimately culminating in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who dies in the year 632. So that's where the knowledge comes from. And who are we? We are human beings. We're both physical and spiritual human beings, and we're part of a community, part of a community that consists of not only people of our tradition, but the Muslim, the Christian community, and the Jewish community as well. So just to conclude really quick, these are the fundamental beliefs in Islam, what we call the creed. That's what a creed is of any faith. Believing God, angels and spirits, Satan, human beings, prophecy, prophets, scriptures, the hereafter, and divine destiny. And then you guys are probably familiar with this. These are the practices, if you will, the sacraments of Islam in a sense, which are the testification of faith, doing your 5 daily prayers, giving charity every year, and of course the fast in Ramadan, and the making the pilgrimage to Mecca once in your lifetime. So that sort of kind of gives you an overview of the faithful tradition. And I will stop here and I'll let Dr. Sabil continue. So thank you so much. Oh, thank you.
I think the reason we like each other is because we both like Rumi. I think that's the only commonality we have. We are very fortunate to have, I'm going to call him brother, Abdul Nasser Rashid. He is our Illinois State Representative. He just got elected in 2022. Please welcome Brother Abdul Nasser to the podium.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. It is wonderful to be here. Thank you so much to the Democratic Party of DuPage and the organizers of this event. It is so great to see so many of you here, and it's so important that we bring together interfaith communities to build understanding and to build relationships and to break bread together. So thank you so much to all of the wonderful organizers for this work. Before I got here, I was listening, and some of you may have been following what's happening in Tennessee. And for me, it's a reminder of why I do this work. So you had the horrific shooting at a school last week that took the lives of 3 children and 3 adults. And you had 3 state representatives in the House chamber there who, quote unquote, broke decorum by going to the front of the chamber and chanting with some of the protesters, and they're being currently expelled from the Tennessee House of Representatives. Not just expelled from the chamber, removed from the chamber, they're being stripped of their positions as representatives. And for me, it's a horrific, anti-democratic event that's happening right now. It's a reminder for me of why I'm so proud to be here in Illinois, and the type of community and the type of politics that we've built in this state, and such an honor to be in the House of Representatives with my dear sister, Representative Nabila Sayed, and so many other wonderful colleagues. When I ran for office, I was often asked about the reason for running. People think you're crazy, and they're not exactly wrong. And I am inspired by my faith. There is a tradition of the Prophet Muhammad, a hadith that says that من نفس كربة عن مؤمن في الدنيا نفس الله كربة عنه في الآخرة. And it's not the exact words, but if you remove a burden off of a believer in this world, God will lift one of your will conceal your fault or your transgressions on the day of reckoning, on the day of judgment. And I see that as a call to service. And of course, humanitarianism and service is in our individual lives, being good neighbors, being good colleagues, being good friends, and it's also being good to the communities that we belong to the states, to our state and to our country. And so I see my faith inspires me to participate in a type of humanitarianism that is systemic, that helps us provide health care to people, that helps us protect our environment, that helps us make sure that our education system is equitable to people. And I know that for so many people of different faiths, we're called to this work because of the teachings of, in my case, the Quran and the scripture, the Quran and the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad. But I'll be brief. I want to encourage us to double down on our participation in the democratic process. I think we often take for granted, especially in a blue state like Illinois. Remember, we are a blue island in Illinois. We're a blue island surrounded by red states that are not chipping away, they are taking away people's rights as we speak. And so we need to make sure that we are continuing to be involved, to volunteer, to donate, to knock on doors, and to continue supporting the democratic process. Because what we're seeing in Tennessee right now, what I was just listening to on my way here, is a horrific reminder of what can happen when the democratic norms and when our commitment to the people who we are supposed to represent, when that wavers. But thank you again for being here. I look forward to continuing to talk to you as we break bread together. Thank you so much.
And now we have Representative Nabila Syed.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone doing? A little low energy, a little hungry. I'm a little hungry. It is such a pleasure to be here. On the drive over, I was thinking about what I was going to say, and I was thinking back to when I was in 3rd grade, so like 5 years ago. No, I'm kidding. I'm young. But I was thinking back to when I was in 3rd grade. It was the first time I fasted in school. And I went up, I had my parents write like a little letter in case anything happened, in case the teachers were wondering why I wasn't eating. I walked up to my teacher, I gave her the letter, and she's like, so what? And I was like, man, you don't even care? I was so excited that I was fasting, and I really wanted to share that excitement of Ramadan and the happiness that it brings me with my teacher. But she just wasn't familiar with Ramadan. She just didn't understand it. So she took the letter, she's like, okay, go ahead, go about your day. And then later, the teacher's assistant placed it was like a Milky Way on my desk. And I just popped it in my mouth and I ate it. I was like, and then I remembered I was fasting. So I went back to my teacher crying, being like, I just broke my fast. What do I do? And she didn't know what I was supposed to do. So the day went on, I ate another cupcake, I had lunches. And I was just thinking back to that when I was in 3rd grade, and I wanted my teacher to understand so badly what Ramadan was and how much it meant to me. And now I think back to the first day of Ramadan. And I don't know if you already spoke about this, I arrived a little bit late, but during the first day of Ramadan, when me and my brother Abdul Nasser were having our first fast, we were fasting for the first day. It was such a wonderful, wonderful day. I had colleagues checking in on me throughout the day, asking, are you okay? Are you doing all right? Are you feeling good? How many more minutes do we have? I was like, are you fasting or am I fasting? over here counting down to sundown. But it was so heartwarming. And then the day started off with an invocation. Usually we're talking about Christianity when we're praying in the beginning. We always start with a prayer. But that day we started talking about Islam for the first time on the House floor. And then after that, my colleagues kept checking in on me, and the Speaker of the House catered iftar for us. And right before sundown, me and Abdul Nasser were able to share a few thoughts about what this month meant to us on the House floor. Like, what a huge deal. And that is because we have a seat at the table. That is because we have representation when there was never representation before. And that is the power of representation. So when the other side keeps talking about how our party likes to talk about diversity, diversity in faith, diversity in racial background, diversity in language, when they keep talking about those like they're just talking points, we need to remind ourselves of the value of diversity, how much it means to young Muslim boys and girls that are sitting at home, that are seeing the speeches that me and Brother Abdul Nasser were able to make on the House floor. That is powerful. And that not only equips them with the representation that they need to see to pursue these passions, to pursue these careers, but it instills a sense of confidence. That because I'm Muslim, I do belong in this country. Because I'm Muslim, I am embraced in a state like Illinois. And just to echo the sentiments of my colleague that he just made about what's happening in Tennessee, it is abhorrent what is happening in that state. It's terrible what's happening in a lot of states across the country, and that makes me so grateful to live in a state like Illinois. And the more that we fight for our democracy here, the more that we fight to increase voting rights, to improve access to the ballot, the more we are doing to set an example for the rest of the states across the country. So keep up the fight. I am so grateful to be joining you all today. And Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, thank you, Nabila Said. Now we have the speaker, Dr. Sabil Ahmed. He's a gain piece, outreach community. He actually helped the misconception about the Islam, and he will have a presentation about the basic about the Ramadan, and also basic about the Islam. Now also he also the one of the actually YouTuber. If you go to the YouTube, you're able to find him easily. Just type it in Dr. Sabil Ahmed. He has lots of videos. Some of the I see it is one day he get 1 million hit. So he's a popular guy. He's sometimes he appear in the Fox News. Sometimes he's appear the different news channel. I'm going to give it to the mic, Dr. Sabil Ahmed.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I start in the name of God, the most beneficent and the most merciful, and welcome and greet all of you with the Islamic greeting of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Which means peace of God, Allah be upon each single one of you. Now, Brother Azam has done a really good job of introducing some basic aspects of Islam. We only have 8 minutes to go, right? So let me speed up. I'm not going to show all the slides, but I do want to start off with asking a few questions so we can have a good engagement, inshallah. So my first question to the people who are not Muslims here would be this. How many days of fasting that we do in the month of Ramadan? What would you say? 30? All of them, right? That's the right answer, the whole month. So a month can be 29 days or 30 days because we follow the lunar calendar compared to the solar calendar. So for that reason, Ramadan always fall like 10 to 11 days. It moves 10 to 11 days. Okay, here is an important research that I have done. Which president that you think held the very first Ramadan Iftar at the White House? What would you say, Sister Sabah? Clinton, Obama, before them. Before Carter. Yeah, before Carter. Let's go for it. You were saying something? President Jefferson, he got it, mashallah, yes. And I see that somebody was Googling the answer. Okay. No, 1809, President Jefferson was the very first one in the White House. He invited the Muslim delegation, and that was the very first Ramadan Iftar that was done. All right, here is an easy one for all of you. Don't look at your tables, all right? Don't look at the tables. Which fruit is recommended for Muslims to break the fast with? Yes, the young boy up there, yeah. Yeah. All right, date fruit, yes, very good, very good. All right, with that being said, just a quick intro to Islam. You know the Imam who recited the passages that you may have heard like half an hour ago? A quick translation is this. Allah, God is saying that fasting has been prescribed to you, means the Muslims, as it was prescribed to those before you. So what we say is, we are fasting because God has ordered the Muslims to fast. That's easy. But we are also fasting because I believe the Quran testifies that Jesus and Moses and Abraham and all the prophets of God, they also used to fast. Yeah? And here is my reference to it. In the Old Testament, in the book of Exodus, when Moses, peace be upon him, when he was about to receive the 10 commandments, he was in the state of fasting. Yeah. So it says in Exodus chapter 34, verse number 28 to be exact, same thing we consider Jesus to be as a mighty prophet. And it says up there in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 4, verse number 2, that he was also fasting as he was introducing the message to his people. So we say that we follow every prophet, every messenger, including Jesus, Moses, Abraham, and each single one of them. All right. So here is that passage of the Quran. So a typical day of Ramadan goes like this. We wake up in the morning approximately like 4 a.m., right? Just try waking up that early in the morning. You're not hungry, you're sleepy, you're tired, but we still wake up. You know, the neat fact is, so my youngest one is in 4th grade, but when he was in 2nd grade, he used to wake up every single day of Ramadan. I think your kids do the same, right? They may wake up and they enjoy and they look forward to it. And he was fasting when he was in the 2nd grade. Sister Nabila, where are you? Oh, she's not here, okay. So our children also, they, even though it's not obligatory on them until they reach the age of puberty, but they start fasting, so they get used to it and they enjoy it and the whole day. So a typical day is, so we start the fasting, then we do the very first prayer of the day. All throughout the day, we are supposed to be conscious that you are fasting because God ordered us to fast. We are supposed to be conscious that fasting is not only staying from food and hunger and water. You know, that's the easiest thing. Staying away from food is the easiest thing, I would say, but fasting is also fasting from any wrong things we're not supposed to be doing anyway. Lying and getting angry and backbiting, breaking promises and cheating. So fasting is also keeping them away to such a degree that hopefully we can keep all the wrong things away for the rest of our lives. But then all throughout the day, we are supposed to be reading the Quran and extra prayers, charity, looking for the neighbors, being concerned for humanity, taking care of humanity, fighting for justice. All of those thoughts should also be running in our mind, and we are supposed to be practicing them. So fasting is supposed to be a 30-day boot camp for Muslims. Right? At the end of the day, we are supposed to transform ourselves. So it's not just about hunger, not just about the food and the parties and the dates. All of them are good. But at the end of the day, every individual should transform themselves to be a better Muslim, a better family member, a better neighbor, a better human, and a better worshipper of the Creator. So that, yes, if we all do that, you know, I gave a similar presentation by the Murtada at the MAB Masjid. The mayor was there, others were there. At that time, we had a Republican president. So I said, yes, all the things that people are mentioning will make America great, but if everyone fasts the way we are fasting and actually transform themselves, that is going to make America greater again, right? He was sitting right there with me in the front. So I'm really glad. So I want to thank our Creator for giving this opportunity. I want to thank Brother Murtaja, his leadership, Sister Sabah, mashallah, and Brother Ken up there, and our state reps, Brother Abdul Nasir and Sister Nabila, and each single one of you. It takes a lot to arrange like this. May God, Allah guide us. May Allah bless us. May God unify us so He can give the best in this world and paradise in the hereafter. Thank you very much. How much time do we have? By this time, everyone is counting down not just the minutes, the seconds.
6 minutes.
6 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So we have 6 minutes for Q&A, but the formal session of Q&A, and we will break our fast, grab our food, come back to our tables, and continue this discussion. So we'll continue to ask questions. Dr. Sabil has promised he's not going to eat too much today, and he'll just keep answering our questions. So raise your hands if you have any questions, and I can bring the mic to you. Was Azim Bhai and Dr. Sabil so good that they answered all your questions? Barb doesn't need a mic.
Okay, so making the trip to Mecca once in a lifetime, did that used to be something that you did more often when you were in that area, or is it or has that changed over the centuries?
So the question is, so one of the pillars of Islam is that once in a lifetime at least, we are supposed to go and make the pilgrimage to Mecca. So the question is that people who live around the area, do they go there more often? So the thing is that because there is so much demand for 2 billion Muslims all over the world, there is a quota for every country, even for the people in the surrounding area. They cannot just wake up in the morning and walk up there and do the pilgrimage. They have to sign up. So there is a certain limitation, especially because of COVID, but because of the so many Muslims around the world also. Yes.
Historically, it was very challenging. People used to take 6 months, years away from their lives to go do the pilgrimage, particularly if you had money and were a powerful person. The average person, it was very, very challenging to do so, unless you lived in the region. Like if you're from South Asia or Africa and so forth. But in recent times, it's become like you have travel packages, right? And the more money you pay, the better the package. So, consumerism has really spread as well for doing pilgrimage. And there's 2 kinds of pilgrimages. I mentioned the main pilgrims that you're required to do once in your lifetime, and that's at a certain time of the year. You can only go during that time of the year. It's called the Hajj. But you can go other times of the year, and that's called a lesser Hajj or Umrah.
Time out, people.
So, walk with me. All right, so we're going to do a quick prayer as we begin to break our fast. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Well, God, we ask you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for allowing us to come together as believers, as people of many communities, as people of different faiths, people of no faiths, people of this wonderful community in DuPage County, all the elected officials, all our colleagues and friends, to come together and share this meal, particularly during this holy time of the year. We ask that you forgive us for any transgressions, for any sins that we may have committed, knowingly or unknowingly. We ask that you reward us for the good deeds that we're doing, whether it's prayers, civic activity, helping people in the area, those who are less fortunate. We ask that we gain the sense of empathy and sympathy for those who are less fortunate than we are, whether it's materially or spiritually or otherwise. We ask that you give us this blessing during this holy month where we can successfully do all our fasts and do good and elevate our ego, elevate our inward spiritual state so that we can become better human beings at the end of this month. Ameen, and thank you so much for this blessing tonight. Ameen. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes. Oh, I don't need to tell them it's iftar time. They know it's iftar time. So we have dates on your table. Please break your fast with the dates and water, and then we'll make our way to the buffet. We have a wonderful spread ready for us. Please enjoy the dinner, and we'll continue this conversation.